The Middle East is holding its breath as a dangerous conflict between two old rivals, Israel and Iran, enters its fourth day. This is not a shadow war anymore, fought through other groups. This is direct, open, and deadly. What began on Friday, June 13th, has quickly grown into the most serious military clash between these two nations in decades. The skies over both countries have seen missiles and fighter jets. The sounds of explosions and sirens have become a terrible new reality for millions of people. This is a moment of profound danger for the entire region, as a long-simmering hostility has now boiled over into open warfare. The current fighting started when Israel launched a major military operation against Iran. Codenamed Operation Rising Lion, Israel said its goal was to stop Iran from building nuclear weapons. Israeli forces attacked more than a dozen locations across Iran. These attacks were aimed at nuclear sites and military buildings. It was the largest Israeli attack on Iranian soil since the 1980s. But this action did not end the matter. Instead, it opened a new and frightening chapter. Iran promised a strong response, and it did not take long for that promise to be fulfilled, turning a targeted Israeli strike into a wider, more unpredictable war. The situation has worsened with each passing day. On Monday, the number of people killed in Israel rose to 24. This shows that Iran's retaliation has been powerful and has broken through Israel's defenses. In Iran, the numbers are much higher. The health ministry there reported that at least 224 people have been killed since Friday. More than 1,000 others have been hospitalized. These numbers tell a story of immense suffering. They remind us that behind the military plans and political statements, there are real people whose lives have been shattered. The conflict is no longer a distant threat. It is a present and painful reality. As the fourth day of fighting begins, there is no sign of things calming down. Both sides are exchanging more deadly attacks. The fear is that this conflict could grow even bigger, pulling in other countries and creating a much larger war. The people in Israel and Iran are caught in the middle of this dangerous game. They are the ones who hear the sirens and run for cover. They are the ones who worry about their families and their future. For them, the past 4 days have felt like an eternity, and the path ahead is filled with uncertainty and fear. Israel's initial strikes were precise and widespread, hitting deep inside Iran. Israeli Air Force fighter jets targeted key nuclear facilities and military installations. The stated goal was to damage Iran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon. But the attacks also had a very clear military objective: to weaken Iran's leadership. The strikes reached from the western border with Iraq all the way to the capital, Tehran, and even as far east as the city of Mashhad. This showed the reach and power of the Israeli military. The attacks were a clear message that Israel was willing to take major risks to achieve its security goals. A significant part of Israel's strategy was to target the leaders of Iran's military. On Sunday, Israeli attacks successfully killed several high-ranking officials. Among them were the intelligence chief of Iran's powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Mohammad Kazemi, and his deputy. 2 other generals were also reported to be killed. The IRGC's Quds force, which handles operations outside of Iran, was also hit hard. Israel claimed its command centers were being used to plan attacks against it. Losing such senior figures is a major blow to Iran, and is likely to make its leadership even more determined to strike back hard. Iran's response was swift and powerful. It launched hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones toward Israel. The aim was to overwhelm Israel's famous air defense systems, like the Iron Dome. While many missiles were stopped, some got through. These missiles hit major Israeli cities, including Tel Aviv and Haifa. The attacks caused deaths and serious damage. A prominent science institute was damaged, and an oil refinery was hit, causing a large fire. The message from Iran was clear: our reach is long, and our power is real. We can and will harm you directly. The missile barrages have brought the war directly to Israeli civilians. For years, Israelis have lived with the threat of attack, but this is different. The scale of the Iranian response is something new. The attacks have caused at least 24 deaths in Israel so far. The constant threat of missiles has sent a wave of fear across the country. The skies are no longer safe. The sense of security that many Israelis felt has been badly shaken. The conflict has shown that even with advanced defenses, the country is vulnerable to a direct attack from its most powerful enemy. For ordinary people in both Israel and Iran, daily life has been completely turned upside down. Fear has become a constant companion. In Israel, the familiar sound of air raid sirens sends families rushing to bomb shelters. Schools are closed, and public gatherings are banned in many areas. Streets that are usually busy with people and cars are now quiet and empty. People stay close to home, always listening for the next warning. The simple act of going to the market or visiting a friend now involves a life or death calculation. The psychological stress is immense, especially for children who do not understand why their world is filled with loud noises and fear. In Iran, the situation is also very difficult, especially in the cities that were targeted by Israeli airstrikes. People in Tehran and other major centers are living with the shock of the attacks. Many are trying to leave the cities, hoping to find safety in more rural areas. This has created long lines of traffic on the roads leading out of the cities. Families pack what they can into their cars and drive away, not knowing when they will be able to return home. For those who stay, life is filled with anxiety. They worry about more strikes and the safety of their loved ones. The conflict has brought the reality of war home in a way many have never experienced before. Keeping safe is the main challenge for everyone. In Israel, many homes have reinforced safe rooms. Public bomb shelters are also available, but the warnings often come with only a few seconds to spare. People have to be ready to drop everything and run for cover at any moment. In Iran, the infrastructure for protecting civilians is not as developed. People must find their own ways to stay safe, often hiding in basements or the lower floors of buildings. The constant threat of attack takes a heavy toll. It disrupts sleep, work, and every part of normal life. The human cost of this conflict goes beyond the numbers of dead and injured. It is seen in the faces of worried parents and frightened children. It is heard in the stories of families separated by the chaos. In both Israel and Iran, people want to live in peace. They want to raise their children and plan for the future. But this conflict has stolen their sense of normalcy and security. It has replaced hope with fear, and daily routines with a constant state of alert. The war is being fought by governments and armies, but it is ordinary people who are paying the highest price. The escalating conflict has caused major disruptions to international travel, creating chaos for airlines and passengers. As soon as the fighting began, Israel closed its airspace to all civilian flights. This left thousands of travelers stranded. Many international airlines have cancelled all flights to and from Tel Aviv. The skies over the region have become a no-go zone for many carriers. They are rerouting their planes to avoid flying over Israel, Iran, and neighboring countries. This adds hours to flight times and increases costs, affecting global travel far beyond the immediate area of conflict. Inside the region, travel has become even more difficult and dangerous. The mass movement of people fleeing Iranian cities has clogged major highways. Families desperate to escape the airstrikes are creating traffic jams that stretch for miles. This internal displacement adds another layer of crisis for the Iranian government to manage. For people trying to get into or out of the country, the options are very limited. Many land borders are seeing increased security, and air travel is nearly impossible. The conflict has effectively isolated both nations, trapping their citizens and foreign nationals inside. The international community is watching the situation with growing alarm. World leaders are calling for both sides to stop the fighting immediately. The fear is that the conflict could spiral out of control and lead to a much larger regional war. The United States, a key ally of Israel, finds itself in a difficult position. Two United States officials revealed that President Donald Trump recently rejected an Israeli plan to assassinate Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. This shows that even Israel's closest allies are worried about actions that could make the situation much worse. The United Nations and other international bodies are trying to find a way to de-escalate the crisis. But their influence is limited when two powerful nations are locked in direct combat. Diplomatic channels are strained, and trust is non-existent. The main concern for neighboring countries and global powers is containment. They want to prevent the fighting from spreading to places like Lebanon, Syria, or the vital shipping lanes in the Persian Gulf. For now, the world can only issue warnings and appeal for calm, while hoping that the leaders in Israel and Iran will step back from the brink. The violence has brought diplomatic efforts to a complete standstill. Any hope of resolving tensions through talks has vanished for now. A planned round of nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran, which was supposed to happen in Oman, has been cancelled. The Omani foreign minister confirmed the cancellation. Iran's representative stated that holding such talks was unjustifiable, while Israel continued its attacks. This breakdown in diplomacy is a major setback. The nuclear talks were seen as a key way to reduce tensions with Iran, but now that path is closed. The conflict has destroyed any remaining trust. This diplomatic collapse has serious consequences for the future. Without talks, there is no off-ramp from the current cycle of violence. Each attack leads to a counter-attack, pushing both sides further into conflict. In a worrying new development, Iran has threatened to withdraw from the Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT. This is the main international agreement aimed at stopping the spread of nuclear weapons. Iran's parliament has started drafting a proposal to exit the treaty. While Iran insists it does not want nuclear weapons, leaving the NPT would be a very alarming signal to the rest of the world and would likely escalate the crisis even further. The importance of this situation for the entire Middle East cannot be overstated. The conflict between Israel and Iran has the potential to reshape the region. It could draw in other countries either by choice or by accident. Proxies and allied groups across the region are on high alert. A wider war could disrupt global oil supplies, create a massive refugee crisis, and lead to instability that could last for years. The future of the region hangs in the balance, dependent on the next moves made in Tehran and Jerusalem. Every decision carries immense weight and risk. For the people of Israel and Iran, the future looks deeply uncertain. They are living in the shadow of a war that has no clear end in sight. The hope for a peaceful resolution feels very distant. Instead, they face the daily reality of fear, loss, and disruption. The political goals of their leaders have led them into a dark and dangerous place. As the conflict continues, the central question remains: can a path back to peace be found before even more lives are lost? For now, the answer is unknown, and millions of people wait in fear for what the next day will bring.